Okay everyone, so now we are learning the storage class static or the static variable. If we talk about the types of storage class, then there are four types of storage classes. The first one is auto, where we have the automatic variables or the local variable. Then the second storage class is extern, where we have the external variable or the global variable. Then third storage class is the static, which have the static variable. And the fourth one is the register storage class, where we have the register variable. So today we are going to discuss the storage class static, which have the static variables. If we talk about the storage class static, which contain the static variables, there is an important point about static variable, that static variable persist their value. That means throughout the program, their value remain, that persist. We know that whenever we are having two functions, if one function is updating one value, that is not visible to the other function because of their scope. But if you talk about the static variable, their value persists throughout the program and it is visible to everyone. So that means the last change in value by any of the function that persists throughout the program. Or we can say that if anybody is changing that value will remain there and that value will not lost until we are working with the program. Second point about the storage class static, which contain the static variable, is that whenever we are declaring a variable which is declared as a static, then its garbage value is removed and that is initialized with the null. To understand this point, we are taking the example of a program. So first example we are having is a program where we are having is a comment that storage class static or the static variable. Now afterward we are having a header file which is #include stdio.h, where #include is the preprocessive directive which is including the header file stdio, which is standard output header file for printf and scanf functions. Then we are having is the void main. Void stands for no return type. Main is a driving function. Then we are saying int a. So one normal variable we are declaring in the memory. So let us assume that there is a variable a and we are assuming that the address where it is stored is 301. We are not going to initialize any value in a. Then again we are using int b. So we can say that there is one more variable we are going to declare. Let's say that is b, which is having at the address assuming 401. Before that we are providing the static. So that means b is the static variable. So what is the difference between a normal variable and a static variable? If we talk about the normal variable, just like we know that a is the normal variable, whenever we declare the variable, there is some garbage value which is automatically assigned. So inside that variable a, there will be some garbage value. So until we are going to initialize its value, it will be having the garbage value. So here if I am going to print that without initializing any value, initializing means I am not saying a equal to 10 or something. Here I have not initialized. So automatically compiler has given the garbage value to the normal variable. So if I am saying printf means printing on the screen / for the new line a. So variable a, then %d. So that is for the integer value take from the a. So you can see that the value of a is -28761. We have not given the value. From where this value is coming? This is the garbage value which is automatically coming through the compiler. So if we are not providing any value to the normal variable, it takes the garbage value. But let us suppose that we have the static variable b. So here if we are saying printf, printing on the screen / for the new line b. So we can see that we have the b here. On the user screen %d for the integer value. Now we are printing the b. We can see that this value is 0. So that means a variable which is declared as static will be having the null value. Null value means it is having the 0 value or null value in case of the character or the string. We know that in the character or the string, null is nothing, and in the integer we are having 0, that is nothing. So here we are assuming that their value will be null. So here we can say that in variable b, which is declared as the static, its garbage value is removed and it is initialized to the null. So that is the difference between a normal variable and the static variable. There is one important point to understand. This difference you can see into the Turbo C. We know that Turbo C compiler is the basic compiler for the C programming. In that you can find the easy difference that a normal variable A that will be having the garbage value and a static variable B that will be having the null or the zero value. But if we are making the program, let's say in the Dev C or any other compiler, there are chances that both will show you the zero, because by default these compilers provide the value as zero whenever initialized. So if you want to test the static variable and the normal variable, go and check into the Turbo C. That is the compiler which will give you the exact results. Next point about the storage class static or the static variable is that static variable can be internal or the external depending upon where they are declared. We know that whenever we are declaring a variable inside a function, that is called the local variable or the internal variable. And whenever we are declaring a variable on the top, that means above the main, so that is the global variable or the external variable. So here static variable we can declare anywhere. That means that should be inside the function. So it can be the internal or the local, or static variable can be declared on the top, means above the main. So here that will be the global or the external variable. So static variable can be internal or external, depends where it is declared. The next point about the static variables is that they can be initialized only once. That means the static variables cannot be reinitialized. If you talk about the next point about static variable, then static variable alive throughout the program. That means static variable don't lose its value. If you are providing some value to the static variable, then that value will remain there throughout the program. It is not that they will lose their value. So that means they are alive throughout the program. There are various benefits of static variable. We can use their property for counting that how many times we have called the function. If we are calling a function, let's say 6 times, so static variable we can use so that it is going to count how many times the function is called. To understand more about the static variable, we are taking the second example program here. So first line we are having is the storage class static or the static variable. That means this is the comment, compiler will not read that. Then further we are having is the hash include stdio.h, which is the standard header file for printf and scanf functions. Then further we are having is the hash include stdlib.h, which is for the exit function. We know that in this program we have used the exit function, that's why we use this stdlib.h. We can also use the process.h for the exit statement, totally up to you. The next one we are having is the void Ankit then semicolon. This is the function declaration or the prototype. That means in this program we have declared a function. So here we have the function Ankit already available. Then further we are having is the void main. Void main is the driving function. Void means no return type. So here the main is having its boundary. Inside the body of main we are having is a for loop. So here for, then afterward we can see that bracket start, then nothing, then semicolon, nothing, semicolon, nothing, then bracket close. We know that the first part in the for loop, that should be initialization. Let us suppose we are saying I equal to 0. Then afterward in the second block, before the semicolon, we provide the condition, just like we say I less than 10. Then in the third portion, we provide increment or decrement. So we know that increment or decrement, that can be I plus plus or I minus minus. So here I have not provided anything, not initialization, no condition, no increment, decrement. These all fields are empty. So that means this is the infinite loop. Infinite loop means it will keep on working until we have some stop statement. So here we know that there is a exit statement by which we can exit out of the loop. So here this loop will keep on working infinite up to infinity. So here inside that we are having is the function call, which is Ankit. That means we are calling this function infinite times until somebody is stopping us. So here we are going to call the function that is Ankit. So this function is called. Where we are having is the void, means no return type, and Ankit, this is the function. Inside that we are having is the boundary of the function. Afterward we are having is the int a. So that means there is one variable is declared in the memory, and that is in the boundary of function, which is Ankit. So here the name is a. Let us assume that the memory is 301. Here we have used the word that is static. We know that static variable is initialized by default with the value null, or we can say that their value is 0. So null or 0, null in case of the string and 0 in case of the integer. So here we are having is the integer, so by default the value of a will be 0. Afterward we are going to print that. We are saying printf means print on the screen /n for the new line a. So a will be printed. Then %d, it will take the value from a, and the value of a we know that is 0. So 0 will be printed. Then afterward a++. So the value of a will be incremented. So the new value of a will be now 1. Afterward we are having is the if a equal to 3. Is 1 equal to 3? We have the value of a is 1. Is that equal to 3? No. So that means condition false. So exit statement will not work. Now function is over. It will be going back. So here after the execution of Ankit, it will be going back to the for loop, and for loop is infinite. Again it will be come down and call the Ankit. So here we can call one more time the function. Function will keep on calling infinite time because the for loop is infinite. Again the Ankit function is called. There is one important thing to understand. Whenever function performs its task, then afterward it lost its value. If we have the normal variable lost its value. Now we are calling the function second time. Again we are having this static int a. So now understand, it will not be initialized again. So here we have the point, they are initialized only once. That means this time again there is no initialization of the variable a, because that is a static variable. It will hold the previous value, that is 1. So that value is not lost. If we talk about the normal variable, they lost their value. We are calling function 3 times. Every time function call with the fresh value of a. But here whenever we are using the static, it will hold the value. So here the value of a, which is 1, that will be hold. Why? Because that is the static variable. That will be not reinitialized. Now if we are going to print it, so here we are saying printf means printing on the screen /n for the new line a. So a will be printed on the next line. Then %d will take the value from a, and we know that the value of a is 1 because it hold the value. So here the value will be 1. If it is a normal variable, it will not hold the value, but the static variable is that's why it is holding the value. Again a++. So here the value of a will be again incremented to 2. Again checking if a equal to 3. Is 2 equal to 3? No. So that means exit statement will not work. Again function call is complete. It will go back to the 4, and here we know that 4 is the infinite. So again it will call the Ankit. So function call Ankit will execute. Then again function will be called one more time. So now when the function is called, here again we are having is the static int a. So here we know that anytime we are using the static, the value will not be reinitialized. It have the initialized only once. So previous value, which is 2, that will be hold. So now afterward we are saying printf means printing on the screen /n for the new line a. So a will be printed. Then %d will take the value from a, and the value of a is 2. So here the 2 value will come. This value is hold because of the keyword static. Then a plus plus, the value of a will be now 3. Then further we have, if a equal to 3, the value of a is 3. Is 3 equal to 3? Yes. So here if we'll come inside, then we have the exit. So once we have the exit, we know that exit means come out of the program. So here we are coming out of the program. So now afterward, for loop will not work after, because exit means coming out. So here we can see that there we have the value of a, 0, 1 and 2. 3 times we have called the function. Every time we are having is the different value of a. But let us suppose that we are not using the static variable. Then in that case, what will happen? If we are taking the normal variable int a, then every time we will be having the value that is 0. So this value is coming and incrementing because here the value is hold. So static variable hold their value, and we can see that in the static variable their value persist, means the last change in the value persist throughout the program. So whatever the change we are doing, that will be reflecting to throughout the program. So here this is the static variable, and static variables are initialized only once. That means the previous value which we are giving, that they will contain. They don't have the garbage value because their garbage value is removed, and they always initialized with the null. Null means in case of integer, null is 0, and in case of string we have the null. So by default static variable have the null or the 0 value. They can be declared above the main or inside a function. Just like in our example, we have declared static int a, which is the part of Ankit. So here this one is the internal or the local variable. But we can also declare it above the main. So that will be the external or global variable. And as their value persists throughout the program, that's why they alive. Alive means they are into the active mode and they have their value throughout the program. So static variables are most popular because of holding their value throughout the program. So that is all about the storage class static or the static variable.